Students, today let us study about soil, its formation, its constituents, soil erosion and soil pollution. Then the first question arises, what do you mean by soil? The topmost layer of Earth's crust which supports life is known as soil. And how does it form? Breakage of rocks by various physical, chemical and biological processes lead to the formation of soil, and it takes millions of years to form a thin layer of soil. So soil is very important natural resource for us. And now let us discuss factors responsible for soil formation. The first factor is sun. What happens during the daytime? The rocks become hot and expansion in rocks occur, whereas during the night the temperature lowers down and contraction in rocks occur, but the amount of expansion need not to be equal to the amount of contraction, and vice versa. Amount of contraction may be less, expansion may be more, contraction may be less, and this uneven expansion and contraction leads to the formation of cracks and hence ultimately leads to the formation of soil. Second factor is water. What happens in the cracks? Sometimes water enters in the cracks and at night it freezes. And this freezing of water leads to the widening of cracks and ultimately breakage of soil into fine particles called soil. Moreover, flowing water like river also carry rock particles which lead to the further erosion of rocks and formation of soil. Third factor is wind. Strong winds erode the rocks as well as wind transports the soil from one place to another. It removes the soil from the parent rock and takes off it to the far off places. And the last factor is living organisms. We have already studied about lichen. Lichen is the symbiotic association between fungi and algae. So what happens? Lichens grow on rocks and they release certain substances that cause rock surface to powder down and lead to the formation of soil. After lichens, mosses grow there, then small trees, then big trees, and the roots of these trees lead to the widening of cracks and breakage of the rocks and ultimately leads to the formation of soil. So these are the four factors which leads to the formation of soil: sun, water, wind and living organisms. Now let us study about the constituents of soil. There are four major constituents of soil. First is mineral, second is soil air, third is soil water and fourth is organic matter and living organisms. So first of all, let us understand the percentage of these constituents in the soil. So soil water takes 25% of the soil, whereas 25% is constituted by air and 45% by the minerals, and only 5% by organic matter and living organism. But this 5% is very important for the fertility and structure of the soil. So there are four main constituents: minerals, air, water, organic matter and living organisms. Minerals constitute 45%, soil air constitutes 25%, soil water constitutes 25% and living organism constitute 5%. So this is the total composition of soil. Now let us study about types of soil. Types of soil depends on the size of soil particles and its range is less than 0.002 mm to 0.2 mm. As we all know, the finest soil is clay soil and its particle size is less than 0.02 mm, whereas the sand is the coarse soil particle. Sand is the most coarse soil and its particle size is 2 mm. And in the mid of sand and clay there is one more type of soil and that is known as silt, and its particle size ranges between 0.002 to 0.05 mm. So we can see here there are mainly three types of soil: clay, silt and sand. Clay is the finest and sand is the coarse one, okay, and silt is the middle one, okay. And the particle size ranges from less than 0.002 millimeter to 0.05 to 2 millimeter. And so we can say there are mainly three types of soil: clay, silt and sand, and its particle size ranges from less than 0.02 millimeter to 0.5 to 2 millimeter. Now let us study about quality of soil. Quality of soil depends on the amount of humus present in the soil and microscopic organisms present in the soil. Now the question arises, what is humus? Dead, decomposed organic matter which is dark brown in color and which plays major role in deciding the soil structure is known as humus. So humus is made from dead, decaying living organisms. When living organisms like plants and animals die, they get decomposed and mixed in the soil and lead to the formation of humus. Humus increases the porosity of the soil as well as water and air retention capacity of the soil. So humus is important for fertility of the soil. It is important for porosity of the soil, and it is important for water retention capacity of the soil. So humus is very important as far as the fertility of soil is concerned. Now let us study about topsoil. What is topsoil? It is the topmost layer of the soil. It contains humus and living organisms in addition to soil particles. Living organisms like bacteria, fungi, earthworms, insects, etc. The quality of topsoil decides the biodiversity of that area. So what is topsoil? It is the topmost layer of the soil. And what does it contain? It contains humus, it contains living organisms and plus soil particles, and it is the most fertile zone of the soil. It is the zone on which our agriculture depends. All the crops are grown in this topsoil only. So this is very important and it is the most fertile zone. Now let us discuss about soil erosion. You have learned this in lower classes also. Removal of the top fertile layer of the soil by various factors like strong winds and flowing water is known as soil erosion. So if the topmost layer is eroded, then the fertility of the soil is lost and we will be unable to grow crops of good quality. So it is very important to prevent soil erosion. So what are the methods for preventing soil erosion? Afforestation. Plant more trees because roots help in binding of soil particles and does not allow erosion to occur. Then step farming or terrace farming in hilly areas can prevent soil erosion. Soil cover. We should not leave the land barren. Some crops must be grown and this helps in reducing the soil erosion. And last, controlled grazing, meaning thereby grazing should be done up to a limited level only. So these practices will help in preventing soil erosion and saving our top fertile layer of the soil. Now let us discuss about soil pollution. What is soil pollution? Removal of useful components from the soil and addition of substances which adversely affect the fertility of the soil and kill the diversity of organisms that live in soil is called soil pollution. So what happens nowadays? We are using lot of agricultural chemicals like fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, etc. And these chemicals remain present inside our soil and they undergo different type of reaction and destroy the structure of our soil. So this should be avoided so that the fertility of the soil may remain intact. So use of large amount of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides over long periods has led to this soil pollution. So what should be our aim? We should use natural things like natural herbicides or weedicides or manures, etc. and vermicompost, etc., to increase the fertility of our soil. And we should stop the use of large amount of chemical fertilizers. Rather, we should use its limited amount. So this way we can save our soil from soil pollution. I hope, students, you understood every topic very nicely. Thank you.